Man, do we need a new intro? What is up, everybody? Welcome back. It's the Just Too Sweet Show. Back from a minor hiatus. Back from a tiny, itsy bitsy break. I am back. I am Big Daddy Tim myself. With me is my tag team partner, A to the Z, Mr. Eric Zen. Eric, what is going on, my friend? I am glad to be back with you on this show.
I am too. Hey, just like you said, had a little hiatus. Now we're back, and hopefully we'll get the ball rolling and get some good things happening this summer.
Absolutely. We have a lot to talk about. Well, we're not going to talk about everything today. Today is a special program. We're finally going to do an in-depth review of the Iron Claw, the movie about the Von Erichs. It took you a while to see it. I know you were working three jobs like a crazy person, doing all you can. It took you a while to finally catch the movie. I can't wait to finally get into this review with you. We'll do a full in-depth. You being the super fan, knowing the Von Erichs, knowing their story, being a huge fan of them, is the one half that was a part that I've been waiting for, which is why I wanted to do this review. But now we have a total other side of that. We have someone who doesn't really know about Devon. Probably didn't know. I don't know. I have to ask her if she did know about them. I don't think she did, though, knew their story before the movie. But she absolutely loved the movie. She threw out a stellar review on PCP about it. And I just had to get her on the show for this. It's our old friend, Nardo's back. Nardo, how are
Hello.
you? How is everything?
Everything is wonderful. It's awesome to be back with you guys.
Goes
It's been a
back.
while since I've been on a show. Hey.
We finally got you on here. I think you only been on here to say hello for the anniversary show. I think you've ever been on the show before.
Yeah, I just popped in for the quick hello for the anniversary show and then but yeah, it's definitely been a while. A lot has
As
changed and grown and it's good to see that this feels just like home, right? Isn't that what matters?
And how's the little guy doing?
The littlest of guys is amazing. He is 4.5 months now. So,
Wow.
he's turning his little body and he's already getting his little stuff going, wanting to crawl. My other son is gonna be 9 in August, and then I have a 13 going on 14-year-old. So the family is growing, something that at every stage of life.
And,
But yeah,
and you're
it's good.
and you're actually coming from a very interesting location. Why don't you tell us what location you're coming from? Because it's kind of a good part of the show to be there. So go ahead.
Right,
Where you
a
joining us
state
from?
penitentiary. No, just kidding. It just looks that way. I'm actually in the Florida Pride wrestling camp down here in Brentwood Park, Florida. It's a little bit outside of Lake Wales. It is definitely where a lot of Florida men's stories must have happened. Because I will tell you this, I was just explaining this before the show that I went to the Walmart here, to do a quick little run for stuff. And man, I found all the Walmart people. I know where they live now. It's here. It's
They're all in
here.
that one. They're all in that.
I found
They're all in that one. They're all in that
They're all
one.
in this one.
they're
Like
all the one.
they're all in here, and I was like, wow, I'm so used to like big city that I tend to forget.
So now, before we get started, even am I safe to say that you weren't aware of the Von Erich story beforehand? So you went to this completely blind. You went into this
So
completely not knowing.
yeah, so like I would say partially blind because when I saw the trailer come out, I showed it to my husband and he's like, "Oh my God, I saw the doc." Like he knew them, he is a big wrestling buff, whether it's outside of the ring or inside of the ring because he wrestled in high school. So there's a lot of people that wrestled collegiately and then went into the ring. So like the Von Erichsons, he said that he had seen the documentary that was done about them way before and he's like, man, that's like a crazy story. So I didn't know much other than him saying that and him being like, no, it's like it's this crazy situation with his family and all this stuff happened. So as far as knowing them on the ring side, not necessarily, only that there was tragedy. And then he's like, man, who's in the movie? And then like I showed him and he was like, man, that's like a really amazing cast for that. But and my husband, like when I tell you he knows movies, but he doesn't know movies like that. He was like, man, that's a really interesting, like they picked some really interesting people he wouldn't think of. So then we decided to see. So yeah, I went in pretty blind. I didn't know much about them other than that.
Did you have any point think this can't be real? Like as
Oh,
the
a
movie
hundred.
went on.
Oh, 100%. I even asked him. I was like, "Is this 100% true?" And he's like, "So far, he's like, as we're watching the film, I'm like, there's no way that happened. There's no way that that happened. And he even mentioned, which when we jump into more in depth in the review, he's like, yeah, there was even this time where like this cousin that wasn't really one of them, but they pulled him in, and I'm like waiting to see him, and then there's that scene where Zac Efron's trying to get like the tag. I'm like, is that the cousin? And he's like, I guess that's how, you know. So it was definitely one of those things that as we were watching, I was like, there's no way that this family has experienced this much intense tragedy. But he's like, no, like they're like just one of those like sports stories that that you just get, and it's wild how much they accomplished and how much that got taken away so soon.
All right, and Eric, you finally got to see it. I've been waiting almost a year, for you to see this movie because I knew how excited you were. I knew what a huge fan of them you are, what a huge fan of the story you were. Let's just jump right into it, man. What was your And I also mentioned in the chat that you happen to watch it at least. Well, he just ducked out. See, this is gonna bother us now. This was gonna happen now.
That's okay. He's jumping in and out because of technical difficulties, but you know what? He'll jump back. He's a mythical creature. He'll jump back in. He'll jump back in.
All right, he'll
He's
jump
like,
back. All right, so you know what? Let's get to you then. Let's talk
right,
about first
go
of
ahead.
all. Let's talk about Zac Efron. Tell me your impression of Zac Efron in this, and not just how jacked and ripped he was. Everyone seems to jump right into that part of it, and his face and his Hulk hair. He did have Hulk hair.
Yes, and like from what I heard, he had to reconstruct his jaw or something, but I don't think it was because of the film. I don't recall, but I know something happened to his face that he had to redo. That aside, because it isn't the first time we've seen Zac Efron like shirtless and jacked up. Like I think that he does not get the credit that he should, especially with this film. Like before that, we saw him do. I'm here like just putting it up real quick. Zac, obviously from like way back in the day, we saw him do all the High School Musicals, and he was like the Disney star and like really interesting in this like growing up way where and then he got into his funny bone being in Neighbors and The Greatest Showman. Like he definitely is showing range. And then I think it was when he did I'm just pulling up the title real quick, Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile, when he played Ted Bundy, that everybody kind of opened up their eyes, or like, man, this guy has some serious drama chops. It isn't just comedy, musicals, and like heartthrob style stuff. Like he actually has something in there. And then when they cast him in Iron Claw, obviously there's the body transformation, but I think that he's back.
I'm back.
But we were talking about Zac Efron here. But I think that this really showed his range as far as an actor is concerned. Like it's not like anything he's done. I think that it's such a shame it didn't get the recognition and credit that it should have. I think that in a time when, and this isn't shitting on Emma Stone or anything like that, but like that's how everybody viewed the film that she just did. I want to, not Pretty Creatures or Pretty Thing, whatever, the one where she's basically a female Frankenstein. Everybody looked at her like that, and I'm like, y'all are really not giving this guy any type of recognition or anything for this type of performance that he put up. Not just it being moving, but like you really felt for him and the way he felt about family, and it just really, really bounced off the screen for me. And this is just speaking upon him, since he was the surviving Von Erich, which not to give anything away, but like really is the surviving one.
Well, yeah, if you haven't seen it, that's your fault.
Right. At this
Free
point.
here. So Eric, are you back? Eric, are you good?
Yeah, I'm trying to.
You're on your phone now, right?
Yeah, I think he's on his phone.
Yeah, I'm on the phone. You can hear me now?
Yeah. You seem a little better.
Okay. Yeah. There we go.
Now you gotta turn off the laptop.
Yeah, turn off the laptop now we can hear myself talking. All right, so Eric, real quick then.
Can you hear me? Is it better now?
Yes. No.
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 Like I can hear me like 10 seconds after.
Hang on, I'm gonna get rid of the Bluetooth. Hang on. Whoops.
Afterwards, okay. We got one in prison and one in
Can you hear me now?
in the hole.
And one in like what was that? Like Blair Witch Project.
Is that better?
Much better.
Now I gotta go back
Right.
to the settings and put it back on default.
It's all right.
But anyway,
We got
go. I can kind of hear you. Go ahead.
Get one with nature. It's all right. It's fine. Well, like I said, Eric, you're the one person I was waiting to hear from about this movie. You finally got to watch it on Max, and I know you watched it at least 2 or 3 times, like in a 48-hour period. I believe, is that true?
Say it again.
I watched it
Oh, for a period.
3 or 4 times. Yeah.
But like quick. So overall, being a huge Von Erich fan, a huge fan of the family, knowing the story, right out of the way. I mean, what did you think of the movie? Because I think you're a little harder to please than most others when it comes to wrestling stuff. So right off the bat, tell us what you thought of it.
I thought it was a really good movie. But like, if you really want to get into it, there was a lot missing. But I mean, it's Hollywood, and you have to cut 40 years of this family's history into an hour and a half, 2 hours. Overall, I thought it was a great movie. I wish they included Chris, and I wish they didn't make Fritz as hard as he was, because he was a bastard, but he wasn't that bad of a bastard.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna say they pretty much followed things about 99%. I mean, what they did include and what they did base the movie upon, it was true. So I mean, it was really good. I thought it was a great movie.
Well, for those that don't know, man, I don't know if you know Nardo or not, but explain Chris, who Chris is, and why they kept him out.
I think they kept him out because they said that it would be almost too unrealistic to think that another one committed suicide, and like, you know what I mean, and have to follow that. It would almost take away from the whole plot of the movie.
Yeah, I also
But-
read that it was that audiences would have it would be almost too sad. Like it
Yeah.
would be like too much of a tragedy to so they were like
Yeah.
they tested like, man, that's gonna be rough to sell. So which is why
Yeah.
when you said that, I was like, oh, that must be the combined brother that they showed, that even I didn't know about until we were watching that. It was when I was watching it with my family, that they were like, he was like, oh, where's my husband was like, where's the other brother? And I'm like, what other brother?
What
even
other
know.
brother?
What other brother? And he's like, there's another one. And I'm like, no. And he's like, yeah. And that's when I looked that up.
Yeah, I read that they combined Chris and Mike to kind of a lot of people would not they believe that it happened again and again and
Yeah.
again and which is, like I said, but I mean, to me, that's part of the story. I would have liked to have not seen him kill himself. I would like to have them included him just, to show that it was way worse than it really was. I mean, what happened in real life, what they did change a few things. I said, I don't know, Jesse, if you understand what some of the things they did change. It was way more horrific in real life. It was way more horrific, especially with Kerry and all that.
I don't know all the details. I just know that there was another brother. It was suicide, and and I did ask if it was true about the intestinal thing in Japan, and he's like, yeah, that's how he died. I'm like, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rumored to be OD'd for a long time, but no, it was never. It wasn't an OD. It was straight up with intestinal, whatever the hell it was called.
Yeah, and he was actually sick. The movie depicts that accurately too, pretty well. Kevin asked him not to go, but his father had pounded in the boys. If you have a booking, you make your booking. Doesn't matter if it's 10 miles away or 10,000 miles away. And had he stayed and went to the doctor, he probably would have lived.
Now, Eric, Zac Efron, for you, we already had Nardo talk about it. What do you think of the job he did playing Kevin?
I think he did okay. I think he did a good job. I was a little disappointed that they dumbed Kevin down a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it seemed like he was a little. I don't know. I don't want to insult him or insult the character, but I mean, I wish they didn't make him seem so kind of like, like slowish, dumb. You know what I mean?
I mean, more like he got pushed around by the dad and pushed around by,
he was kind of timid and a little too timid to the point where you would think like, wow, does he have a spine? You know what I mean? It's like Kevin definitely wasn't like that, but Kevin is like nice to a fault. So if you look at it at that aspect, I guess it works. But I thought he did an overall good job. I really did.
We got Stephanie and Jaime both chiming about the movie. Stephanie brings up a personal thing. Fritz was no way the dick he was made out to be. So, Narda, let's go to you right away. Holt McClaney played Fritz von Erich, which, by the way, is probably my favorite casting in the entire movie. Go back and watch any footage of Fritz. I think he nailed it. I think he is the most perfectly cast member. Nardo, I say someone who doesn't really know. What do you think of Holt McClaney, his job, and could Fritz von Erich really be such an asshole?
Well, I really like that casting as well. I think that was, and again, I only knew him from the FBI when he did the FBI series Mindhunter. That's where I knew him from. So I was really surprised to see him cast into a drama role, even though Mindhunter was drama, but like still it was a really interesting role. I think that this is, to borrow a phrase from Disney films, A Tale as Old as Time, a parent that like really drives into their family, specifically the sons, like you have to be like this, you got to be like this. And I think that not knowing the character, I wouldn't think less or more of an asshole of him. I would just say that this is the portrayal of the hard, ball busting father, making sure that this is this can be seen in almost any type of drama, specifically revolving around sons. My line has to be the best line. And I mean, their entire, again, as an outsider, their family's name is what carried them in the entire industry. So I can see him just portraying that, not knowing him as a wrestler, just knowing him as like the father. I thought it was a really good portrayal of just, and again, and I do think that the reason why they made him, now that you say like that, I think about it, you made him more of an asshole, is probably because they wanted a really clear juxtaposition from Zac Efron's character to him, to show like maybe if there was just a little bit more involvement. I think that the mom, right, like she, which I believe was I'm trying to see here who played the mom, if I remember.
Maura Tierney?
Maura Tierney. Yeah. She played the mom. And I think that it was like one of those things, like they were also trying to paint the picture of like if the other parent maybe stepped in a little bit more, what would that look like? I think that first scene where like he's coming out of the ring and she's pregnant and he bought the car, and it kind of really did set the tone of like this is how he was gonna be. But I really enjoyed the casting. I think that, as a hard ball busting, father with a line of name to carry, it was portrayed well. I think that as I said before, as the outsider, is like you just see this as like, okay, yeah, this is definitely, a family that's name based, and this is just the dad driving it in. And it's funny because when you have kids in sports, you see this on the sideline. This is nothing. I've seen dads and moms get so hyper involved in like,
oh yeah,
in matches that are insane, especially in wrestling. My son wrestles collegiately, and I am not that type of parent where I need to be screaming. My husband's coaching, so I don't scream. I'm very anxious on the sideline, kind of quiet, so I can understand that perspective of their mom, like kind of being like, just letting things play out, because I feel like that is the involvement of my husband. He is the coach. So is Fritz. He was the coach, right, in his own way. So I guess I can see not getting involved in it. But, if he was less of an asshole, I mean, I don't know if they would have like made him a little less of one, if it really would have hit home, like just maybe those tropes that they try to play up in Hollywood.
So wait, you don't mean you don't rank your kids and then tell them the rankings? Like
I
you
mean,
did?
they know the ranking right now because they're like not as cute as the smallest one.
um,
My kid asks me almost daily, "How much do you love me on a scale of 1 to 10?" I'm always like 11, like to play on a joke. And then there's days where I'm like -3 because you didn't pick up your room.
Eric, what about you? You again, you know more about Fritz than the both of us. So, how did you think Holt McClany played the role? Was Fritz that big of an asshole?
Definitely not. He was. I mean, he was a bastard, but like hearing what Nardo said, kind of it resonates better with me now pertaining to the movie because I think now I understand why they made him that overbearing guy because of Kevin's timidness. Now it makes perfect sense now, and it actually makes the movie better to me. I didn't look at it in that aspect, so But of course, I mean, you guys both know I'm fucking horrible at watching movies, so. But no, it really made sense. So I'm looking at this like when she said that, like I was like wow. So it opened up, and it actually I understand it more. As far as Holt what's his name? Colt McClanahan. Yeah,
What a
Holt
name.
McClaney.
Holt.
Rue McClanahan. So he I thought he did a great job. I'd never heard of him or seen him in anything before, unless I have and missed him. But I thought he did a great job. I mean, I don't know if I'm skipping ahead doing this, but I probably thought he and probably he played the role that he was the best. I think, but I think the worst was his wife. I think like Maura Tierney did such a good job at playing her. Like I absolutely despised the character. Like, and it's funny because Stephanie brought it to my, because Stephanie's a giant Von Erich fan like me. She like knows everything. That's how Doris was in real life. She was like a Debbie Downer and a like, she was, I can't remember the paraphrase. I guess odd or different is how the kids put her. But yeah, it's definitely. I thought he did good.
Yeah, I did too. When I heard that casting, I was like, "Oh, that's good." Like you hear Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White playing the brothers. I was like, I don't know.
Really?
That was my least. I was like, "Ooh, nailed it."
That was my least favorite. That was my least favorite casting. What? Real quick,
Jeremy Allen White?
Yeah, Jeremy Allen White. I wasn't. I was okay with it, but it was my least favorite casting. But real quick,
good.
Tell me something that Rue or Hoyt McClanahan is in, so I can watch it and get it.
He's done a lot of. Wait, hold up. I read it right here. I'll throw it at you.
Yeah, he's in TV series. That's why it's like even in Mindhunters, he wasn't the main guy. Like he was the main guy, but he was like the not the one that pursued it as like that's not where the camera always focused.
He was in Fight Club. He was one of the background guys in Fight Club.
Yes.
One of the members of the. He was a space monkey. Let me see.
Okay.
From Eric. I mean, he's been around a long time.
Yeah.
I mean,
again,
yeah, he seems like a
character guy. That's why you probably were like didn't even realize that it's him.
He's kind of like a secondary guy,
He played Teddy Atlas in that HBO Tyson movie. He was in Jade, the Peacemaker. Like a lot of little things. He was on Law and Order a few times. Fight Club.
Who hasn't been in Law and Order?
That's true. We've all been in that show.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Fight Club. I watched him on a TV show where he played a boxer. That's where I know him from. It didn't last long. It was a very underwhelming show. I dug it, but it was taken off. He was on Heroes briefly.
Mm-hmm.
So Law and Order, Toxic.
I'm telling you, look, what I liked about Mindhunters and him is that if you don't know, it's based on the guys who wrote the book about the behavioral aspects of serial killers. Mm-hmm. So essentially, they wrote the book of how to profile these people. So that's what it's based on. It's based on the FBI agents who interviewed Gacy, who interviewed the people that were caught at the time, because before serial killers were classified this way, it was not done like that. So he was part of the team that literally wrote the book on how to do a behavioral analysis of these individuals. And it's only 2 seasons, 19 episodes. It'd be an easy watch. And he plays the FBI agent that helped write the book.
Yeah,
I'll have to check it out.
Lights
I'll
Out
have
was
to
a
check
show
it
I
out.
was like. It was a 1 season. Like he played a boxer, getting mixed up in the wrong things. It was really quick. It was a decent show. He also got beat up by Batman, by the way, in the Bad Justice League movie. Well, they were both bad.
Oh,
But
wait a minute.
the Joss Whedon one. He got beat up
Was
on the
he-
roof. He was on the roof in the beginning of Batman by Batman.
Oh my God!
The
Yeah, that was
which
him.
one? Which one?
The Josh Whedon's Justice League,
Yeah.
not Snyder's, the other one.
Yeah.
The like
Remember there were 2 different versions. Josh Whedon had his, and everybody said it
oh
horrible.
yeah.
So they released the Snyder cut. He's the guy that got beats up on the roof by Batman in the beginning of the original version of the Josh.
Yeah.
Whedon.
Okay.
So yeah, he's in a bunch of little things, nothing too thing. But when I knew his name, so that's why when I heard him get cast as Fritz, I was like, oh, that's pretty damn good. So wait,
Yeah.
let's jump ahead now, because I know. See now, Nardo, Eric's a huge Kerry Von Erich fan, and
so that's why he didn't like Jeremy Allen.
Yeah.
White.
Huge.
Jeremy Allen White was hired for his acting, not for his build or his size. That's for damn sure. Because Kerry was much bigger, much taller in real life. You know, and if we're gonna break down my one problem with the story, Eric, we talked about it, and I'll tell you now, is there was not enough Kerry Von Erich in this movie. I needed at least 30 more
100%.
minutes, of just him, because his story, like I said, no, you may not know, is way more complicated.
Okay,
Way
so that's
more
the part.
complicated.
That's the part of it that I was like, it was a lot of bop 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 with him. Again, me, huge Jeremy Allen White fan, loved him in Shameless, love him in The Bear. So I
Me
know
too.
that when they casted him, I was like, yeah, this like I like the collective work, but I was like, I didn't know he was, except from when they talked about it, that he was in university. I didn't know like what's the story there. Why is he the only one that went to college? Like what's that all about, right? Because he like comes back home from being away.
I thought.
and I was like, what's that about? I didn't understand like the transition. Then the whole foot thing. I'm like,
See,
did
that's
he
the
really
thing.
wrestle without a foot? Like, is
For-
that's
not
true?
for
Like,
if you watch, you go to any one of his matches in the WWF when he was a Texas Tornado, no foot.
the fact
Does
that
not
they
have
were
a
just
foot.
like, by the way, he didn't have a foot. I was like, and my husband's like, yeah, he wrestled without a foot for a long time. I was like, no way. How did you do that?
And
Yeah.
he had that like the other brothers, they had that. I look like a monster. I look like a failure because of this foot. If anyone ever finds out, that led to the drugs. That led to this. That led to that. And that said, they did not show. You give Jeremy Allen White 30 more minutes, then he is nominated. That's how long that he is. Because I said, Eric, I know you weren't a fan of him, but he is the best actor in that movie, I think, personally.
Well,
and he would have killed that story.
I think it's because they didn't show him enough. I honestly think that he's my least favorite because he didn't get enough time, not just for him, but for him to show what he can do for Kerry. Because if you notice, as the movie goes on, I mean, Zac Efron was buff already. He got buff for the film. I think they did it right with Jeremy Allen White because he got buff as the film went on. Because if you notice from the beginning to the end, he is a lot more jacked at the end.
Yeah,
And-
what was he in school for? It wasn't even wrestling, right? It was
No,
Kerry, Kerry was a discus thrower.
a disc. There we go. I was like, so that's like a completely different build. I thought the same thing. I was like, and again, but I will say this: a plus to the film is that it wasn't like this 3-hour extravaganza that like would probably make poor Eric here going from 4 times trying to watch the film to 6. So,
Yeah.
so I think, but now that you say that, I'm like, I did want to know more about the whole situation with that because it kind of felt like it just came and happened. And I don't know if that was the director's way of just being like maybe he was trying to say like, I'm cutting up the brothers because there's only one brother that's constant. So that's the only thing I can think of. That maybe he's like, I can't have you and be like, I want you to be invested, but I want you to be invested in the way it affects Zac Efron's character. Really about him, you know, like
It
let's be
is
real. It's
because
about
he's the
him.
only one left. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, like, and then maybe that's why they were like, we gotta be tight with the other brothers as far as, I do think that at the end when they did the culminating scene, the afterlife scene, I'm like, this is where they let them shine to be like, this is the separation to Zac Efron's thing, and I'm like, I get choked up just like the way that the director planted that in with the kids, like that he's like there crying and having his moment, and he's like, "Why are you crying, Dad?" And he's like, "I used to be your brother," and they're like, "Well, we'll be your brother," and I'm just like,
Oh God, yeah.
dead, dead like those brothers. But sorry, that's a joke,
And
of
I said,
course.
no, one thing you may not know is Kerry, when he crashed his motorcycle, he crashed to the back of a police car.
See,
They didn't show that part.
They didn't show that.
Yeah, so and it said that he went through years of the drugs and everything, and the painkillers because of the leg. I would have liked to have seen a little more, just a
Right,
little more,
just a little more.
because I said that maybe
I
Eric Rose would
guess
have liked Jeremy Allen White a lot better.
I would have. So I did a little research into losing a limb and actually using it. So when you lose like any part of a lower limb, like from either your foot or your knee down or whatever, it puts so much excruciating stress on that joint that like you're in pain so bad just from like being a normal person, like let alone being a wrestler who's doing that. So I can't imagine the excruciating pain Kerry was in all the time.
Hmm.
I didn't know
Mentally
that.
too. Mentally too. Don't
Yeah.
forget.
And mentally too. It just because yeah, the thing with the pills is they take the pain away, but mostly it's mental. It like fucks you up so you can escape. And I think he escaped way too far. And it's just so if he was already in a bad state, like that those drugs just didn't help him one bit. And that's really even a sadder like story.
No, and I think that would have added another layer if they would have. I guess if they would have explored that more. But again, I don't know how these decisions are made when they decide to take bits and parts out. You know, does it really bring down the whole audience? I think that although I can see the argument and I can agree that like if a movie is way too sad, I won't watch it. Like to this day, I don't finish 12 Years Slave. I can't. It's too intense for me. There's just
What's it
films that
called?
12 Year Slave. Like I still can't watch that film. It's
I
just
thought you were gonna
too.
say like the last what's that, the last dinosaur or something?
And I
Or what?
can't really listen. After a child, your hormones are all over the place. There's barely public commercials I can stomach for too long. So,
True.
honestly,
Million Dollar Baby. I can't watch that movie again ever
you
again.
see,
I watched it
saw
once.
once. I'm good.
I'm good. I don't need to see it again.
Good. I know what happens. Thank you.
Let's jump into we'll put them together because we said we'll get this over quicker. Harris Dickinson played David. Snelly Simons played Mike. Well, he played a combination of Mike and Chris. Like I said, people who don't know, there were two brothers, Mike and Chris. Mike had this. This guy had to play the Mike half, which Eric, if I'm correct, he was a decent wrestler, but not as good. And Chris was just the runt of the litter who never should step foot in the ring, but he felt obligated to. Is that right? That's right.
No. Well, yes and no. So Mike didn't want to be a wrestler, but he felt he had to.
And Chris really wanted to. But he just was not.
He was actually a really, really accomplished musician, and he was really good at it. He was an excellent guitarist, a great songwriter. That's what he wanted.
I guess that's how they bring him in, right? They show him.
Yeah, that's what he wanted to do. And as far as Chris goes, Chris was the youngest. But Chris had a lot of health problems. He had terrible asthma. He had I guess what would be probably diagnosed today as like one of those like those like invisible diseases that like affect your like nerves and stuff.
Oh, like neuropathy or something like that.
I don't know, but it's like he had a lot of, and he took a lot of medicine, which back then, they didn't know that kids shouldn't be taking doses like that because it'll make. What it did is it made his bones brittle. It made him small. It made him frail. so he never grew like the other boys did, and like he always felt inadequate, and he idolized Carrie, so he wanted to be just like Carrie. So he tried to work out, he tried to do it, grow his hair long. He tried to, and Fritz actually let him, and Kevin and Carrie let him wrestle a little bit, but he wrestled a few matches, then he like broke his arm, then he wrestled a few more, and he separated his shoulder. So it's like he had a rough start, and he was a wonderful artist too. So, but there's the pressure and stress again of everything. But yeah, Chris was a sad story, like right to begin. And I guess because there's a Von Erich podcast now where Kevin is on with his sons, and then Carrie's daughter and Kevin's daughter do one too. And they've said that Chris would go from like 0 to 100 like really quick. Like he would be so hot and so cold. So I think that plays again into the type of person he was. And thinking about that, I think that would have been really, like Nardo said, like adding another layer to that, adding another tragedy to it. I just think it was too much. But no, Mike, I don't think was. I mean, he's an okay wrestler. I mean, Kevin talks him up like he was a great athlete. I'm going to be honest with you. I never thought Mike was anything great. I've watched literally every Von Erich match. They're like every episode of World Class. Mike was okay, but you could just tell his heart wasn't in it. He wasn't a great worker. So no, I don't think he was okay. And Chris just didn't have it in him either. He just wasn't like. He was, not only the proverbial runt, but he just didn't have like any strength, he had the will, but he didn't have the skill, like Barry Melrose said. So, but yeah, so that's, I hope, that's kind of what you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, besides, I don't know about Narda. I said she doesn't really know what do you think of Harley Race and Ric Flair and the Freebirds? Freebirds, you really think you got a little sense. Ric Flair kind of threw me off. I did not like the guy doing Ric Flair.
Not good. Not as someone. Now that was someone I knew, and I was just like, that is not good. Like bless his heart, but no.
Yeah,
I thought the
decent job.
The guy did Harley Race was good. The guy that did Ric Flair was absolutely terrible.
Why do you think
the
that
Freebirds were?
Like, why do you think that is? Why was he so bad?
It's not easy to do a Flair imitation.
It's not easy to do Flair, but when you're trying to do Flair and you don't know how to do Flair, when you're cast as a part and said, hey, you're going to be this guy, and you have no idea who he is, you're not going to do it right.
You can't just watch a couple of YouTube videos and be like, oh, I could do this.
I actually think they should have let MJF be Flair and had another Lance. Like, I think that he would have done better at it. But the Freebirds were okay.
Can you explain the Freebirds to me a little bit? Because that's part of the lore that I didn't get.
That's what I was going to ask you. I wanted to ask you, like I said, no, because you were more the outsider. Did the movie even give you the sense of how actually big the Von Erichs were? Did you get that sense? Because I personally, Eric, you're going to agree though, they were way bigger than what they actually showed on the screen. They were way bigger than that.
Oh, especially Christ!
I think for the era that they were depicting, I could tell they were big, and I knew that they were that big. Now, will I say again? This is me going off the era that they're showing, which is very early for me. Because for me, my era is, Stone Cold and The Rock and The Big Show and, the Undertaker. Like, that's when I started watching wrestling. So I'm comparing it to, like, this big bombastic situation to, like, what they're depicting, which is, like, the early days of WWF and, like it was big. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, and don't get me wrong. My dad was huge wrestling fan, like super big wrestling fan. So he knew all of them. And I knew it was that big through him, but like, did it show it to me? Yes, I think I saw how big they were. Now I will say that because it's the era, maybe that bombastic way of being like wasn't portrayed like how it should have been. That's why I was like, I'm assuming the Freebirds are some sort of like opposing side, but I don't know much about them other than they're like, the other people.
Eric, that's your cue.
No. So to give you an idea about how big the Von Erichs were, they had double the ratings that Vince never even got until the mid to late 90s. They outdrew every other territory in the States except for the WWF after they got big. They filled Texas Stadium twice. And there were three. If you ask any Texan, even alive today, that is like 40 and older, say, what was it like growing up in Texas? They'll say there are three things: Friday night football, church on Sunday, and the Von Erichs, because they were as big or bigger than the Dallas Cowboys. Any sports team in Texas, they were Texas. And none of us are ever going to be able to appreciate how big they were and how, I mean, they were the first ones that were ever broadcast across the superstation. They were broadcast globally, like they were shown in the Middle East and in Japan and in Europe before Vince even thought about syndicating. They could. It's undescribable.
David's funeral was like a senator or a president. Or
they closed the Texas.
Oh, wow.
They closed the Texas Senate and the Capitol for the day because of his funeral.
That's wild.
It's just there's no way that you could because if you didn't come from then, like I was fortunate. I watched it back then, and I knew, and like it still surprises me today. It's just unbelievable how big they actually were. Like, and the thing is like, if Fritz would have been progressive back then, there's all what ifs, but like they really had something that like Crockett didn't ever achieve, that Vince did achieve, but like
eventually, I mean,
explain the Freebirds to Nardo. Explain the rivalry.
Okay, so
like why are they rivals other than they're another group of individuals?
So the Von Erichs are Texas. They're the Texas boys. They're Texas's heroes. So in order back then, this is back when wrestling was like, at its today I refer to it more as sports entertainment. Back then it was wrestling. So you had a clear line of babyface and heel, of good guy and bad guy. So there's no other place to have a rival for Texas than Georgia. So the Freebirds were all from Georgia, from the deep South, not the Southwest. Okay. So in order to get them over more, they're Atlanta boys. They're deep South Georgia boys. They would come in with their rebel flag. They would trash Texas. They would it was the perfect rival for the Von Erichs, because they epitomized partying, women, out all night, every form of debauchery you can. And of course, the Von Erichs were God-fearing. They were polite and proper. They helped little old ladies across the street. They didn't swear. So they were the antithesis of what the Von Erichs were the Freebirds. I mean, they broke every freaking rule. It was just the perfect foil, and it made it even better that they were from the other side of the South, where they were like gigantic rivals. Because I mean, it's just Nardo. If you have Peacock, at some point, to truly like cap off your view and your thing you're doing about the Iron Claw, the perception you have, watch a couple of episodes from 83, 84, and after that you're going to be like, oh my God, it's really going to be crystal clear to you. And like I said, Kevin says I'll cap off the Freebird Von Erich thing with this. Kevin even said on the microphone once, he goes, "This isn't about Texas and Georgia. It's about decency and filth." So, and Michael Hayes and those guys played it up perfectly.
Give me a minute.
So that's the Freebird, but and of course the Freebirds became mythical. There's a Freebird rule. There became 6-man tag team championships. It's like they're the first ones to use entrance music into a ring. It's like they innovated so many things that people don't know about. It's insane.
Or not, I know you're getting called to go. We understand that. We understand life is calling. So real quick though, because I said I really liked what you wrote. Who's winning an award for you? I know you said specifically. What award would you give the film, as far as what you liked best about it?
Okay, I think cinematography is a big one. I love the way this movie was filmed. I think that it gave this. I love when you do like a very like dim and shadowy. I love the way the ring was depicted. It was kind of like the spotlight was always centered, and we're so used to the ring looking a little bit like out like this with the lights. So I think that deserves a lot of recognition.
Wow.
I'm looking at lead actor for Ephraim. You know, like he's not like it's a range that I think we're looking at DiCaprio range, right? Like he should have won the year before, but then he fought the bear and won. And it's like that's not the movie you should have won for, right? But it's like just give him the Oscar already. The poor guy has done enough. I would have given him lead actor. Like right now you asked me who won this past year lead actor in the Oscars. I can't even tell you. Again, me watching a little bit more on a side. So I think that for me, okay, Oppenheimer won for best actor.
Oppenheimer won everything.
But they won everything. And you want to know?
They won everything.
Still haven't seen that film.
Really?
I haven't either, but I want to because I'm an Oppenheimer fan from way back. So even before the movie, like I think.
You've been into the atomic bomb for a while, huh?
Well, I grew up with a father who was a physics genius, so I had to learn how an atomic bomb worked when I was young. But no, I've read books about Oppenheimer and watched various documentaries before that. He's a very interesting guy.
Okay, see, I think I would enjoy a documentary over the film. I think the film was, I don't know, I keep hearing stuff about it. I'm like, this doesn't sound like something I'm going to enjoy.
I agree.
So I think those two are the big ones. I wouldn't even give it to a supporting actor because you're right. Jeremy Allen White didn't get to really show his chops. I think that if they would have just added that extra part of it, you guys, like after you guys said that, I'm like, damn, I wish they would have explored that. You know, even if it was just 20 more minutes, I think that it really would have given us a better idea of how that film is.
Kerry Von Erich he has a daughter who later on became a wrestling.
See, that's what I'm saying. I didn't even know. I only knew through an extent of who continued, and I'm like, you said they had a podcast. I'm like, crap, I didn't even know that there was other extensions of them. But I think it would have been cinematography and lead actor. I think he deserved it.
Okay,
that's fantastic.
I know you're getting poked away, Nardi. You gotta go. You can go.
I gotta go, gentlemen. It's been real. It's been awesome. Till the next one.
Thank you
so much for joining.
Thank you for coming.
Happy to be here. Have a good
one. Hi,
Bye.
everybody. Take care.
Will do.
Love,
Take care.
love the review too. Love the review.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great one.
See you later. Yeah, life calls. You gotta go.
Yeah, you know that, especially new mom, new thing here. She's, you know.
And I want to acknowledge
she's got a lot going on.
I want to acknowledge Jaime. You've been rolling out the comments, but you know we don't have much Nardo time, so I want to give her all the time she needed. Gil and Stephanie, all thank you for chiming in. I mean, overall, Eric. I mean, I said I'm glad you finally liked the film. You finally got to see it.
Yeah. I like I said, I liked it more every time, but I'm really glad Nardo put that. You know, that view in my head about that, because I was getting pissed off because like I said, I'm not trying to insult Kevin, but it's like, it's almost like they made him dumb. Mm-hmm. But now I see where he's kind of the, you know, like if he's the nemesis to Fritz, they're they're how they're conveyed, and I get it now. And now I'm seeing the movie in a whole like different light now.
Now, one thing I want to know. I mean, I don't think it's true though, because I'm sure he would have said it. Kevin never attacked Fritz like he did at the end of the movie,
No.
did he? No, right?
No.
Okay.
No.
That was just for cinema purposes.
Yes.
Okay.
And he never carried Carrie's body into the house.
That I know, yeah, because he was way up in the field. He wasn't in the house, yeah.
No. And I don't even know if Kevin found him. I think Fritz found him first. I'm not sure. I might be wrong on that one, but I don't know.
Hi, man, what's going on? You all right? I'm glad we got to help you a little bit today, brother.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad we got to help, Jaime. Damn, dude.
Listen,
Man, you don't need that.
We're starting to make the comeback. We're starting to slowly come back to the show. I mean, so you're always welcome anytime you want.
Every time, dude. Anytime. Oh, Jaime, man, pick yourself up, man. That's no good, man. I hope you can arrest that.
Steph, if I knew you were such a big fan, we could have brought you on the show too, Steph.
Yes, the gun. He did give Fritz the gun for Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah, that I remember. Yeah.
Yep.
Horrible.
Terrible.
Still, though, I mean, overall, yeah. So overall, so every time it's on, I end up watching it. I just put it on and watch. It can get a little depressing sometimes, but hey,
it can.
It's a good movie, though.
Oh, it was overall. If we're rating it on, if we're doing a 5-star system, it's 4.5.
Yeah,
it's 4.
I dug it. So,
yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad we finally got to do the review, man.
Yeah, me too. I wish my internet on upstairs was better. It's all
right. We'll get it figured out.
I will have. Yeah.
So pretty soon we'll have to go over all the shows we missed because I'm dying to talk Beefcake with you.
Yeah, no, we definitely got to do some Dark Sides. Like we might have to do like 2 shows a week, like 2 45-minute shows a week to get over the Dark Side of the Ring stuff.
And biography. And tonight, by the way, is episode 2 of the Fall of WCW. So that should be fun.
I'm definitely gonna watch that.
And I said we'll get back in the swing of things. We'll get things going.
Definitely.
Life has a way of biting us all in the ass.
Yes, it does.
So that's all
life's a bitch, and then so is your significant other sometimes.
Exactly. Steph, if I'd known, you should have come on with us.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't think Kevin was the one that found him. I didn't even. Yeah.
No, it was Fritz.
I thought it was Fritz. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched Dark Side not so long ago about them. Fritz is the one that found them.
Yeah. Kevin found Chris.
Trailer of Super Trailer based on the Capitals. Was it a documentary?
Huh. I never heard of that one.
Check it out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get out of here. We hope you enjoyed our review. Our first comeback show in a while. We will be back with the reviews of all the Dark Sides, the biographies, and we are going to tear Brutus Beefcake a new asshole because he deserves every fucking second of it.
Yeah.
Eric, any parting words before we get out of here?
No. It was just good to be back. It was nice to even to do the review, and like I said, I can't wait to get back rolling on things, and I'm just excited. I'm excited for doing this again.
Me too. Like I said, Steph, Gil, Jaime, thank you for joining in. Thanks for chiming in. We couldn't get to you too much. We wanted to give Nardo her shot. But yes, everyone, thank you very much. We will hopefully see you Clash at the Castle Saturday. I'll try to get Dave into a review. Dave is back in the fold also. We'll try to get a review for that going if you guys want to do it. I don't know what day. Maybe Friday night, maybe Saturday morning. We'll see. Clash at the Castle Saturday. And maybe we'll see you next week with Brutus and Beefcake bashing, which will be awesome.
It would be awesome.
All right,
it's going to be fun.
Have a good night. Catch you later.